gas station at Mile 84 was always known for its silence. I'd been working here for 3 months, and I actually liked the night shifts, scrolling through my phone, drinking cheap coffee, and occasionally serving a stray long-haul trucker. The only thing that bothered me was a note from the senior clerk, Old Mike. In a list of standard chores like mop the floor and count the till, there was one line highlighted in thick black marker. If the automatic door sensor goes off after 3 a.m. but the cameras are empty, do not look at the glass. Hide behind the counter and count to 10. I laughed at that nonsense until last Wednesday. It was 3:15 a.m. The wind was howling, hurling wet snow against the neon-lit windows. I was reading a book when I heard that distinct pshh. The sliding glass doors opened. A gust of cold air hit me. Instinctively, I looked up. The doorway was empty, just the vacant lot and snow swirls dancing under the streetlights. "Hello?" I called out, standing up. Silence. The doors stayed open for a few seconds, then slid shut. "Sensors glitching," I muttered, glancing at the security monitor. My blood turned to ice. On the grainy black and white screen right in front of the doors stood a person. Or something like a person. Its arms were unnaturally long, hanging past its knees, and its head was tilted at an impossible angle, as if it had no neck. It was leaning flush against the glass. I looked back at the actual doors. The glass was clear. Behind it sat nothing but darkness and snow. I looked back at the monitor. The creature was still there. Then it raised a hand and knocked. Thump, thump, thump. The sound didn't come from the speakers. It came directly from the glass, just 6 feet away from me. Yet looking with my own eyes, there was no one there. Old Mike's rule flashed in my mind. My legs gave out, and I hit the floor behind the counter, clamping my hand over my mouth. Thump, thump, thump. The knocking grew frantic. It sounded like the glass was about to shatter. Then the doors hissed open again. Pshh. It was inside. I heard heavy, wet footsteps on the tile. Slap, slap. The sound neared the counter. I squeezed my eyes shut and started counting. 1, 2. The air grew thick with the stench of stagnant water and rotting meat. 3, 4. A raspy, bubbling breath sounded right above my ear. 5. "I see you," a voice rasped, sounding like grinding stones. I reached 10 and blacked out. I woke up in the morning when the day shift guy shook me awake. The doors were closed. The floor was spotless. But on the security monitor, frozen at 3:17 a.m., I saw myself cowering behind the counter, and looming over me a dark shadow with a smiling face whose reflection shouldn't exist. I never thought being a security guard at a warehouse could be this terrifying. The factory made mannequins for high-end boutiques, realistic ones with detailed faces and living eyes. My job was simple. Do an hourly sweep of the massive hangar where these plastic bodies stood in rows, wrapped in plastic film like cocoons. That night it started with the power flickering. The overhead lights hummed and blinked, casting jerky, distorted shadows. During my patrol in Sector B, I noticed a knocked-over box. A mannequin had fallen out, the Diana model, a female figure with an unnaturally wide grin. She was sprawled in an odd position, as if she had been trying to crawl. I cursed, picked her up, She felt strangely heavy and warm to the touch, probably from the nearby heaters, and propped her against the wall. Back in my office, I poured some tea and glanced at the monitors. Camera 4 showed Sector B. The Diana mannequin was on the floor again, but now she was 6 feet closer to the aisle. "No way," I whispered. "Vibrations from the machinery?" I went back. The hangar was deathly silent. When I reached the spot, I froze. The mannequin wasn't lying down. She was standing in the middle of the aisle, her face turned toward my security booth. Her painted eyes seemed to glint in the humid gloom. "Who's there?" My voice cracked into a shriek. "It's not funny, guys." I stepped forward to move her back. That's when I noticed a detail that made the hair on my neck stand up. Her finger positions had changed. Before, her palms were open. Now her fingers were curled into claws as if she were preparing to grab something. I backed away. The lights flickered and died for 5 long seconds. In the darkness, I heard a dry plastic snap, the sound of stiff joints bending. Crack, crack. The lights hummed back on. She was right in front of me, her face an inch from mine, and her smile. I swear the mouth had grown wider and the teeth looked too sharp for plastic. I ran. I bolted for the exit without looking back, but I heard the rhythmic thumping of dozens of feet behind me. It was as if all of Sector B had decided to keep me company. I burst outside and slammed the heavy iron door shut. The next morning, the supervisor fired me for drunkenness. He said I had trashed the place. I tried to explain, begged him to check the tapes. He just huffed and turned on the monitor. The footage showed me running through an empty corridor, swinging my baton and screaming at nothing. The mannequins were all in their places, but there was one detail that made me leave town forever. On the recording, as I ran away, every mannequin in the rows slowly in perfect unison turned their heads to watch me go. The Aurora Business Center at night is like an aquarium. Glass, concrete, and the hum of ventilation. There were only 2 of us sysadmins for 30 floors, but my partner Alex had gone to crash in the basement server room. I was up on the 18th floor in a massive open-plan office, lit only by the glow of my monitors. The work was dull, monitoring traffic, rebooting frozen terminals. At 2:44 a.m., the intercom light on my desk phone started blinking. The call was coming from extension 404. I frowned. Our office numbering didn't include a 404. The 4th floor was under total renovation, nothing but bare studs and wires. "Tech support, go ahead," I answered. Static hissed in the receiver, through which a faint, monotonous sobbing broke through. A woman. "Hello? Is everything okay? I'm cold." Her voice was so quiet I had to press the phone to my ear. "It's so dark here. Turn off the lights." "Give me your office number," I said, typing furiously to trace the call. The system threw an error. "Subscriber not found." "I don't know. There are wires everywhere. I'm tangled in the wires." She spiraled into hysterics. "They're crawling on me. Help." I grabbed my radio. "Alex, wake up. Someone's on the 4th floor. Sounds like a woman caught in the wiring. Check it out." "Copy that," Alex muttered sleepily. "On my way." I stayed on the line. "Help is coming, don't worry. Are you on the 4th floor?" "He isn't coming for me." The voice suddenly shifted. It turned metallic, grinding like a needle scratching vinyl. "He's going to power supply." "Alex, get out of there," I screamed into the radio. "It's a trap." "Max?" Alex's voice was drowning in interference. There's no one here. Just a pile of cables in the center. A massive one. And it's pulsating? Damn it, the door is jammed." A chuckle erupted from the phone, a dry electrical discharge. "Power supply accepted." A blood-curdling scream tore through the radio. The sound of tearing flesh and snapping bones mingled with the roar of a transformer box. "Alex?" Silence. Only the flat hiss of white noise. I lunged out of my chair. I had to run to the stairs. But my eyes caught the monitor. The trace was complete. Source: 127.0.0.1 localhost. This terminal. Realization hit me like a physical blow. I looked slowly under my desk. My PC case wasn't there. Well, it was, but the plastic had melted and the internals, they had grown. Bunches of twisted pair cables, like black tentacles, had wrapped around the desk legs and were now slithering up toward my knees. Deep within the tangle, green LEDs blinked like eyes. "Subscriber online," a voice whispered, no longer from the phone but from the speakers across the entire floor. I lunged for the exit, but the headset cable I'd forgotten to take off snapped taut. It coiled around my neck like a noose, a violent jerk. I slammed onto the floor, claws scraping the carpet. Thousands of wires poured from every desk in the office. They hissed and writhed, lunging for me. I was dragged under the desk into the darkness that smelled of scorched insulation and ozone. Right before a USB-tipped tentacle drove itself into the base of my skull, I saw my monitor one last time. A system window popped up on the black screen. "New device detected. Organic processor installing driver. 1%.